And I'm back. Sorry I did not produce any content for like 10 days. Nothing happened. I'm just irresponsible. Also, the meta was doing things. Lots of minor changes. I'm sure you're all familiar. If you hadn't heard, you might not have even noticed because they were all pretty mild. You know, the buffs and the nerfs, they were all small. No big, huge changes making some moves unusable and bringing others to prominence, although some mons did get new things. And we also got a new mon, Jellicent, which, fine. And Politoed became viable, so 2 waters added in, so naturally, being a person who normally opens Shadow Charizard was having a hard time for a while. Politoed was devastating for me, but now the meta has kind of, the churn has calmed down, and a lot of people seem to be going back to some of the sets that they were using before. So, following suit, I returned to opening with Shadow Charizard, and I did switch up my backline Azumarill, swapped that out for Vigoroth. Now that Azumarill's bubble has been nerfed, it hasn't affected a lot of matchups, but one of the important ones that it did affect was the Bastiodon matchup, which has made Bastiodon just so prominent now. Those things are everywhere, and they are devastating for my team, especially when they're in the lead. I did encounter a few in these sets, and sometimes the conditions were just so that I managed to overcome it, but generally speaking, this team that I'm running is quite weak to Bastiodon, even having swapped in Vigoroth, which deals with it much, much better than Azumarill does. With the addition of Vigoroth, now seeing Bastiodon isn't so much an instant loss, so much as it is creating a situation where I need to really, really fight for alignment, even at the expense of shields, because Bastiodon is horrifically dangerous even with shields. And me having them doesn't really change the smackdown damage. So this first match was Azumarill with double Poison Dark in the back, which is very creative and different. You know, it's an ABB team, so I kind of look at that and it's like, okay, you're kind of fishing for team composition wins and losses. But at least it's different and interesting. The great thing about Poison Dark is that they cover each other's weaknesses, those 2 types, so that really leaves them only actually weak against ground. Ground type attacks are the only things that are super effective against that. But the 2 Poison Darks aren't particularly bulky, so they can lose a lot of neutral matchups against spammier Pokemon like Pelipper and Vigoroth. So I managed to take that first game, despite the Azumarill lead. I know I used to win a lot of leads. I feel like I win fewer leads now. Galvantula is sort of a neutral lead. I will go down a shield, and I usually will Dragon Claw to force a shield, but since I snuck in an extra Dragon Claw, they ducked out without the need for me to throw that, and Azumarill comes in. I don't really agree with what my opponent did there, swapping out their Galvantula. I think they should have just let it go down, because my Charizard was debuffed already from the lunge. So if he had just let Galvantula fall and brought Azumarill in, I would have kind of been stuck throwing my energy into Azumarill, which would kind of sponge it up pretty efficiently. But my opponent opts to take Galvantula out to retain him with about 1 HP so that it could be used as a third shield if necessary, and that's fine. Thing is, when you're doing that, you really kind of need to leave yourself with the ability to switch into that. And my opponent doesn't do that, because here they swap out of their Azumarill, also maintaining their Azumarill with 1 HP. So now they have 2 extra shield Pokemon that they could use, but their switch clock isn't up yet. Although I can definitely understand wanting to give Pelipper less farm, I don't think the one extra wing attack would have been very impactful as compared to being able to catch a 5-turn charge move like Weather Ball Water. So I let Pelipper go down, and I'm waiting out the switch clock, which is a mistake on my part, because his isn't up, and mine definitely already was. And I was planning to throw right away and not switch anyway, so there was really no reason for me to wait like that. So I'm sure now his switch clock is up, but I threw immediately after his move because I didn't think he was going to try to insta-swap. I was probably going to wait for me to throw one Fire Spin first and then switch. It would feel more right. It's what I would have done. So capitalizing on going off of what I would have done, I did not that. And just threw right away. Next up against Spoonaby. Open Swampert, which is terrible. I'm playing this wrong, staying in, throwing 3 Fire Spins. That's not necessary. I should really have just swapped out right away to Vigoroth. Because, yes, Pelipper could sponge up the damage, but more likely Swampert was just going to charge up and then leave, and it would have been nice to have Pelipper in the back to absorb that energy. Pelipper can, with good IVs, can survive a Hydro Cannon and a Sludge Wave and still have a tiny bit of health, but not so tiny that you can get mud-shotted down, or at least not without being able to squeeze off a move first. So instead I swapped to Pelipper, which was a mistake, and after waiting a long time because I was trying to catch a move, which is a mistake. Normally I do like to build up more energy on Charizard, but it's just not going to be very impactful if Swampert gets brought in, and Swampert reaches a move a hell of a lot faster. So I do sacrifice both of my shields to gain alignment, and there's a Frostlass in the back, which is a fun and exciting pick also, definitely a little bit off of meta. Vigoroth has basically no play against Frostlass, especially when Vigoroth has no shields and Frostlass has one, so I switch into Charizard and throw Dragon Claw right away to burn up that last shield. And Swampert comes out and doesn't throw right away because they know that I'm out of energy. So now they still have probably a Hydro Cannon and a half, and don't throw instantly when Pelipper comes out, builds up even more energy and throws. So now they still probably have like a Hydro Cannon and a half. 4, and here comes Hydro Cannon, and they probably already have another one stored. And I can't even throw right away because Vigoroth can't hurt Frostlass without a Bulldoze, so I needed to build up to that, and wasn't even close. So I definitely didn't play that as well as I could have, but it was also a really, really difficult team composition and order. Maybe if Frostlass had been in the lead, maybe I would have had more play, but as that was not going to happen. So Shadow Charizard into Azumarill, even though the bubbles do less, I still like to insta-switch to Pelipper, not throw right away because, anticipating switch-ins. It's really weird to try to switch in a Stunfisk or any rock, steel, ground type like Bastiodon or Stunfisk into a Pelipper that has a bunch of energy. Like, trying to catch a Hurricane is a very dangerous move, because if you don't catch it, Pelipper is just so loaded. And those Weather Ball Waters can just do so much damage, and you can't even start shielding them, because then Pelipper can Mirror Shield and outpace you. Or not outpace you, but because of the huge energy advantage. Just get to their moves way before you do. I did manage to swap in Vigoroth to catch a Rock Slide and also squeezed in a counter, so the Galarian Stunfisk went down with probably a Rock Slide's worth of energy, but that left me kind of switch-locked, which was unfortunate because I got mostly countered all the way down, and now there is a Medicham, which I think was XL, in the back with a ton of loaded energy, so I have to be very careful to leave this matchup with either tons of energy or a shield. So I managed to catch this Ice Beam on Charizard, which is great, and now if I can get out this Blast Burn, it'll mean that I can Wing Attack down, but they're not going to let me do that, and I'm not going to shield here because then I will get Bubble down, and they'll probably have a move ready when Pelipper comes back in. So I managed to get in. I think my opponent either stopped attacking so I would throw right away, or lagged a little bit. Looks like it was probably lagged a little bit. And I managed to get off the Hurricane. Might have gotten it off anyway. I think they were still one bubble away from their move. I opted to shield the first move, even though I was terrified that it might be Power Punch, but it did correctly shield the Psychic and got off the Weather Ball Water to take that out. 1481. 1481. That's a humongous meta jam. Absolutely ginormous. Next opponent is Prankrin, which has such an adorable name. Open Surfetched, that's a positive-ish matchup for Charizard. I do have to go down a shield. They throw right away, sacrificing one counter that they could have gotten in. And I should just be throwing this Dragon Claw before they get to their next move to make them to either get that shield back or take them out. They opt to shield, so now I will shield this attack. Not throw my Dragon Claw because Surfetched wins CMP, and that would just be wasted energy. Used to make that mistake all the time, have learned. Bastiodon comes out, throws a rock at Charizard, and it nearly kills him. But I do get off this Blast Burn, it goes unshielded, and I even get off one extra Fire Spin, which is pretty cool. That damage is definitely helpful. Bastiodon is absolutely beastly. Vigoroth came out, and they insta-switched. I was a little bit slow to the swap, but that's going to be okay. As long as Pelipper gets in before Scrafty gets off like 3 counters, and as long as it doesn't also squeeze in extra counters, he can get off 2 Weather Ball Waters. Which is not enough to take it out, but enough for my purposes. And I even managed to squeeze in an extra wing attack after my attack goes off, so that's great. Every little bit of damage is very helpful. This one won't register because I'm getting taken out. Also a good thing for me that they went double Foul Play instead of Power Up Punch and Foul Play, because that would have been a little more efficient. They could have gotten that off faster, and then their counters would have done more damage. But they would have had to do quite a bit. Maybe the play would have been to stop attacking so that Bastiodon could come back in and farm up some energy. It was a tough position for them, though. After I won the alignment on that. Against Bastiodon, alignment tends to be more important than shields. And with Bastiodon so popular right now, it's my opinion that if you can fight for switch advantage, it is probably worth getting switch advantage, provided you're not running like something like an ABB team or something where you have 2 back mons that are very, very similar. So that concluded that first set. 405. Those games were played at 3100 MMR. I think it was like number. That would have put me on the leaderboard around like the 200s or so. Politoed switch-in, Shadow Politoed switch-in. I checked my Shadow Poliwags, and there were none. So, very sad about that. Didn't shield that first move, because I think it came out a little bit too early to be a Blizzard. If it helps, Politoed with Blizzard, it's 9 Mud Shots to the Blizzard. 8 Mud Shots to an Earthquake, and I thought that was only 8, so it couldn't have been. After that, they charged up a little more, so I am terrified that this is a Blizzard. I've been Blizzarded before. But nope, just another Weather Ball Water. I squeeze in a Wing Attack, and I'm going to take that out. But yeah, not shielding would have been better in this scenario, but it just wasn't worth the risk to lose alignment, because alignment has been so important lately. So Shadow Bomba comes in and shields the Weather Ball Water, which I think is fine. It takes damage very quickly, so you just gonna have to burn shields on something. Might as well be that. I squeeze in this Fire Spin, so this Abomasnow will faint when this lands, except that my opponent brilliantly swaps to Toxicroak to transfer that Fire Spin damage onto Toxicroak, and also the counter comes in and KOs my Charizard, who was full of energy, so that was devastating. Boy, that was that was an amazing play by my opponent, and yeah, I absolutely got taken there. Thankfully, Vigoroth does have some play against other fighters, at least squishy ones like Toxicroak, because I will survive this Sludge Bomb. I undertap to get to this Body Slam right away, and since his counter won't register, I'm able to survive the Powder Snow from Abomasnow. So that could have ended up in a tie if I didn't undertap. So that was one of those games where technical skills came in absolutely clutch on both sides. His was definitely more impressive than mine, though. That was an amazing play. Shadow Charizard into Venusaur. They switch to Stunfisk, and I get in my 3 Fire Spins before swapping out to Vigoroth. Don't really have as hard counterish a team now. Vigoroth definitely counters Stunfisk, but not as hard as Azumarill kind of used to. I guess that's no longer the case, so with Azumarill not being an option, I guess this is probably the best case scenario. I wait until Stunfisk has another Earthquake stored. It's 8 to the first, 7 to the second, before throwing my Bulldoze, just to kind of have built up as much energy as I can. I will need to land another Body Slam, and he throws his Frenzy Plant here. And honestly, I probably should have shielded this and thrown, because that would have burnt out his extra shield. Because there's a Bastiodon in the back, and I already used up my Bastiodon counter in Vigoroth. So now I'm kind of stuck using Pelipper's Weather Balls, which work, but not when you're at a shield disadvantage. Like, looking at this game, it didn't feel like it was over at the time, but looking at it now, it definitely looks like it's over. Get this other Weather Ball in. Need to land this other one, but they are obviously going to shield, and I think they probably have a move stored already. So Pelipper goes down, and Shadow Charizard comes out. I get in 2 Fire Spins while they threw 1 rock at me, but none of that matters, because never mind, it's a Flamethrower, and it's undercharged, and now they're not moving, and now they left. Yeah, I'm not sure why they left. Not sure if they're trying to lower their MMR so that they can match easier or something. That win didn't feel good, but I guess it happened, so that's fine. So next matchup, moving on with my life. Not going to let that hurt me too much. Shadow Charizard into Deoxys used to be not amazing. It's a lot better now that most of them are running Thunderbolt with Psycho Boost. I have to shield either move. So if they throw the Thunderbolt first, that's actually good, because I would have shielded up the Psycho Boost anyway. And now I make an odd choice, which is switching into Vigoroth. I don't know, that I really should have just stayed in. I mean, I already had the last shield. I was going to be able to shield their Psycho Boost, and a second Psycho Boost wouldn't have KO'd me. So really, there was no need for me to switch out into Vigoroth. That was creating an opportunity for them. And really, they should have stayed in longer with Deoxys and just done tons and tons of counter damage. Because they resist counter, and Vigoroth was taking super effective damage from it. But thankfully for me, they switched out, and I had little enough health that I wasn't able to get farmed down. I had undercharged my last Body Slam to try to take an extra charm of damage, but it didn't happen. So correctly shielded Thunderbolt. That's great for me. And here I make what I would consider to be kind of a mistake, which is switching out into Charizard. If I hadn't made it to this Blast Burn, it would have been devastating. And also, Pelipper was going to be able to take out Wigglytuff just fine, and would have had energy left over for Deoxys. Here I actually kind of put myself into a position where I don't have a perfect track of how much energy they had, so that was actually kind of scary, whereas it should have been like a very solid finish. So a little bit sloppy on my part there. That win could have been a little bit cleaner. Pelipper is really bad for me in the lead. I like to insta-switch to Pelipper, but I missed the button because I'm bad. So they got in like an extra wing attack and a half. Thankfully, they throw first, and I squeezed in an extra wing attack, so now we're about even. And I correctly shield the Hurricane, and now they switch in Bastiodon, which they really should have switched to instantly so that I wasn't loaded up with Weather Balls. Again, very risky to try to catch Hurricanes, because just if Pelipper doesn't feel threatened and doesn't throw right away, you could end up with Pelipper with tons and tons of energy. So here at the end is where decisions are starting to be made. They shield the last Weather Ball, which they could have survived. Didn't actually need to shield that. And now they throw the Stone Edge to avoid me throwing another Weather Ball. But that's fine for me. Vigoroth can come out and get this delicious, delicious farm. Now I have a body slam and then some. For the Pelipper that comes back out, which was surprising. I was really expecting them to save that for Charizard because Weather Ball one-shots. And because my Vigoroth had plenty of energy going into this, I'm able to outpace it to my second body slam to their first. So if they shield, I'm just going to mirror shield. I sneak in an extra counter there, so I'm one counter ahead now of wherever it was that I was. And they make an amazing catch on their Stunfisk. Definitely game-changing. And now they would need to Earthquake me to take me out, so right at their Earthquake, I switch into Shadow Charizard. If this is an Earthquake catch, then fantastic, but it's a Rock Slide, and they undercharged it so that they could charge up energy again, which is kind of a mistake for them. They should have just KO'd. Oof. And I get in the Dragon Claw and one more Fire Spin, but this one won't register because I get taken out. And now I make a mistake, which is throwing right away. I really should have just countered down because I didn't realize how much energy their Pelipper still had. It was only 2 wing attacks away. So if I had one extra counter, I would have gotten to my Body Slam first, but wasn't able to do that, and yeah, it took me out. But, you know, that was a great catch on my opponent, and they played that really, really well. Shadow Charizard into Obstagoon. This matchup is not amazing. Counter damage just adds up because Charizard is so soft. And Night Slash hurts quite a bit. Because I let one through, I need to bait with this Dragon Claw to even get out of Blast Burn. But they decide to throw before I reach that, so I figure I'm just going to maintain a shield advantage because both of my back Pokemon have no problem with Obstagoon anyway, and it's Wigglytuff in the back. So if this is Obstagoon Double Charm, then I've definitely done myself a bit of a disservice letting Charizard go down. That does seem to be kind of a popular team. Might be worth burning more shields in the opening now. Wiggly goes down, and their Switch Clock isn't out yet because they actively switched in. So I have the option to switch out to Whimsicott, and it's a very good thing that I didn't switch when they switched in Wiggly, because, yeah, Vigoroth has much less play against Whimsicott. Thankfully, the wing attacks are doing plenty, and I'm going to try to get this last shield with this second Weather Ball. They still haven't thrown, but that's fine because I have 2 shields. At this point, they really shouldn't. So throwing here is definitely an error. It enabled me to get in 1 extra counter, whereas if they had just Charmed, it would have been a lot cleaner. I also make a mistake here, which is throwing the Body Slam. Should have just countered. It was only 1 more counter. I don't know why I would throw that. It's like a panic throw. It's just bad play. Still able to take that game, but just barely. I was only 1 charm away from going down. So if they hadn't thrown, and I had misplayed anyway the way that I had, then they definitely would have taken that game. So, scary to think about. I also missed a throw on Ponyta, which is also embarrassing, but, you know, what can you do? So, 3192, getting back up there. Next match is against Dunebug, who is absolutely a legend. In the Pokemon Go community, not just in-game. Did not realize I was making a pun, and I apologize for that. Won't do it again. Try to, anyway. I throw this Dragon Claw because I don't really know how to respond to Hypno yet. This was my first Hypno with this team, so wasn't really sure what to do. Switching to Vigoroth faster is definitely the play because I get to my moves faster, and it's not like Thunder Punch would hurt that badly. Unfortunately, I get Focus Blasted, which is terrible, and then I make another mistake, which is bringing in Shadow Charizard without waiting out the Switch Clock first. So my Switch Clock isn't even close to done yet, and I'm locked in against the Zoom Roll, and there's a Beedrill in the back. So that means that I get farmed down instead of being able to switch to Pelipper to at least avoid getting bubbled all the way down. All of that extra energy on a Zoom Roll is very dangerous now. Because knowing that there's a Beedrill in the back, which is probably X Scissor and Drill Run, I am needing to shield these Ice Beams. And now I'm throwing Weather Ball Waters because he's still got 2 shields, and I just need to use these up. 2, and that one's the 5th bubble. So I throw my Weather Ball Water at the 5th bubble so that they will shield, at least getting a shield before having to eat this Ice Beam, or play rough, whatever it happens to be, Ice Beam. And now they switch into Beedrill. I throw my Weather Ball as soon as I can. They didn't manage to sneak in an extra move, so that's at least good. But they're definitely going to get to an X Scissor before I reach my next Weather Ball Water. So yeah, it takes me out. So good game to my opponent. I had the alignment. I definitely could have played that better. Also could have shielded the Focus Blast, but how many times do you shield the Hypno and it's like a Fire Punch or something? Happens too much, hurts too bad. But yeah, Dunebug, if you encounter him, it's got Focus Blast. So Charizard into Surfetched again. Definitely seeing quite a few Surfetched leads, which is fine with me. It helps me, it guarantees that I'll be able to get alignment, which seems to be very important lately. Double shield their moves, and I'm fine as long as they don't get like 2 boosts. 2 boosts, I think they maybe can actually counter me down, especially if they snuck in a counter. And there's an Umbreon in the back. So here I'm making a mistake, which is throwing the Dragon Claw. This is a mistake that worked out this time, but it was not necessary, because if I had just thrown the Fire Blast right away, I still would have been able to get 4 Fire Spins in to get to my next Blast Burn before they would be able to Foul Play. And I would actually CMP tie with the Foul Play there. So I would consider that kind of sloppy play, but it worked out for me this time and got me a slight advantage. So I will take what I can get. And it's a good thing that I did, because there is a Skarmory in the back. Skarmory is kind of rough for my back line. It beats both of my Pokemon in the no shield. I also don't really think that I switched in here at the best possible time. I stored a Body Slam. But if I had done like a few more counters and thrown the Body Slam, then they would have Skarmory would have only been 1 Weather Ball Water away. And Pelipper can definitely tank a Foul Play and then some. 2 Foul Plays if it would be at full health. But, you know, able to get Vigoroth back in, throw the Body Slam right away. I think they went down with a move stored. And I outpace Umbreon to the Body Slam, so I am able to take this game. All right. Rookimon, I remember him from my last video, because I recorded it 3 times and I had to say his name at least that many times. So, this is a Scrafty lead, and a lot of the Scrafties, oh my gosh, there was lag, so I totally lost count of how many counters we were at. So that definitely contributed to my mistake making in this game. But, oh my gosh, this is terrible. So I throw the Dragon Claw, and he calls the Shield Bait, which already, you know, not great. So I just throw my next one right away because I have totally lost track of how much energy he has. And then Bastiodon comes out, and I switch. I switch to Pelipper. That's terrible. As I was saying earlier in this video, against Bastiodon, alignment is the most important thing. So switching the thing that's worse to it, neutral-ish, into it, definitely doing myself a huge disservice. If I would have just let Charizard get farmed down, which usually being farmed down is bad, but Bastiodon is throwing rocks, and rocks hurt Charizard so much. Probably would have only survived like 3 of them anyway. So if I had just let it go down, I could have brought Vigoroth in, they would have switched to Toxicroak, I would have switched to Pelipper. This game would have been an easy win. Instead, now I'm here struggling for it. And I should know that he was running this line, because it's the same line from last video, which I recorded 3 times. And simultaneous KO, and his Bastiodon is just chilling in the back with plenty of health anyway. So definitely misplayed that. Scrafty with Basti Tox in the back. Very common line weeks ago. Apparently still sort of common now. So Toxicroak lead, I win this. They don't shield, and they're building all the way up to the Sludge Bomb, so I have to shield. Lots of Charizards. Leads that are fighting aren't really wins so much as they are you being able to absolutely force the force alignment and leave with energy. So I throw my Blast Burn against this Azu before switching out to Pelipper. Azu just had a ton of health, and I was putting myself into a position where I wouldn't be able to... since I was already down a shield, I had to at least get some damage in before I brought Pelipper in. And since they stayed in, I'm going to shield this first move to remain healthy. And obviously I'm going to have to eat the second move. Now that this move is thrown, I'm going to be building up plenty... Oh, it's Stunfisk. Okay, well, I guess this is fine. Since I had plenty of energy and they switched in Stunfisk, I'm just going to throw this Weather Ball Water and throw another Weather Ball Water before they are even able to get up to their first Rock Slide. And when they are at their Rock Slide, I will switch into Vigoroth. Oh, a little slow to that one. That's fine. Vigoroth can tank an Earthquake and a Rock Slide, provided the Mud Shots were done on something else. Throw this Body Slam as soon as it will be sufficient, and here I'm going to take this Rock Slide. Do I survive this? I thought I did, but it looks like I don't. Huh. I guess it was from the excess Mud Shots. Because if he hadn't done the extra Mud Shots first, then I would have survived that, and I would have been Mud Shotted down. So there really wouldn't have been any difference there. Azumarill comes back out, is charging up a lot, so I switched to Charizard to finish it off because I don't know, was worried that they would throw a move and Charizard wouldn't have the energy to take out Stunfisk in case Stunfisk still had energy. Couldn't remember. Watching this definitely didn't, so I was definitely fine, but that felt like the safe play, and that's what I did this time. Charizard into Tropius. Finally a lead that I actually win solidly, and they switch out to Vigoroth, which I don't really have much of a response to, because if I switch to my Vigoroth, they'll have an energy lead, so I at least need to throw this Dragon Claw first. And now I switch out to Pelipper. I think they were only at 4 counters when I swapped, so I should be able to get to my Weather Ball before they get to their next Body Slam, which I do. So throw this, and if they shield, I will just Mirror Shield. Ooh, CMP tie, okay. Yes, it's much better to be on this side of the CMP tie. Losing at that other game was absolutely brutal. I also managed to sneak in a Wing Attack when they threw, so that did leave me up 1. Now Tropius comes in and can definitely farm me all the way down, so I'm at least going to build up to a Hurricane and throw that so that I can get the shield. That was a dangerous amount of farm down, to be perfectly honest. I got the last shield, but they definitely have 2 Aerial Aces and maybe then a little bit more. So I managed to sneak in a Fire Spin, which is impactful. I don't shield the first one because I was hoping for a Leaf Blade bait. It didn't happen, so I do shield this one, and it is a Leaf Blade bait, so that's bad. They switch out to Umbreon, which gives me the opportunity to charge all the way up to a Blast Burn and unleash that. I think if they'd stayed in, I would have expected them to be able to reach the Leaf Blade before I was able to Fire Spin them down. But I guess they wanted to catch that one that I had snuck through. But Vigoroth comes out, and I throw my Body Slam a little bit early, landing that on the Umbreon, take that out, and now as long as I can get to a Body Slam, I'll be fine, because Vigoroth can survive a Leaf Blade, no problem. So yeah, wins. A lot easier to come by when you win the lead. So 3 out of 5 that set. Not too special. I get a not too special reward. But it does get me back up to over 3200. So good to be back up in the higher numbers. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to do the things that you know you're supposed to do on videos. You know what I mean. Not even going to mention it this time. Also follow me on Twitter. Okay, bye.